So it's Thursday, which means it's time for us to head into the wild, our weekly roundup of all things wild and truly wonderful. And we have an exceptional, truly exceptional guest with us this morning, Leslie Rochard, the shark warrior herself, to chat to us about ocean conservation, responsible tourism and swimming with sharks. Now, our lines are open. We want to hear about your animal encounters, especially if, like me, you are new to swimming with sharks. The number to dial is 083 9133 728. So first up, we want to thank one particular contributor, Steve from Cape Town, who sent us the most amazing picture. And Leslie, hopefully this is going to give you a warm welcome to Expresso. He was able to take this very rare photograph of what is described as a nautilus, or otherwise known as an argonaut, which is a marine mollusk that washed up in Delbrook Pool in St. James. It looks bizarre, but it is basically a living fossil. Look at that. It's incredible. Have you ever encountered one of these before?
I have never had the privilege, although I've seen many things. That is one thing I'm yet to see. He was very fortunate. Very,
very lucky. So, Peter, thank you so much for taking that photo. And that it looks like something out of a science fiction movie. Absolutely rare and beautiful. Please send us any pics of your wild encounters, especially if you have been able to swim or dive with sharks. And Leslie, that is why you are here. In fact, that is why you are, I think. You are a shark warrior. And I love this fact that they say more people die from toasters every year than from shark attacks. As someone who has just recently swum, there's the dangerous toaster. We don't want to make you scared of your kitchens this morning, but as someone who had the opportunity recently of swimming with black-tip sharks at Aliwal Shoal, to have my brain rewired in seconds. It took all of 5 seconds for me to no longer fear those particular sharks. Maybe not black whites, great whites, but that especially. And it was mind-blowing to me. Why do you do what you do?
Well, just going back to the toaster, that is actually one of our campaigns at AfriOceans Conservation Alliance, a non-profit I founded. And we created this campaign called Rethink the Shark, which has won many awards. And the toaster is something that we use as putting things into perspective when it comes to shark bites. So the ad shows you at the end, it's a complete rip-off of Jaws, the cult movie that completely demonized sharks.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, we see this toaster floating in the water instead of the shark. And really telling people, put shark bites into perspective. Worldwide, less than 10 people a year are killed by sharks versus more people are killed by their toasters every year.
And I know Spielberg deeply regrets making the Jaws films because of the amount of sharks that have died as a result of those films. What is the best way to get this message across? Is ecotourism the answer? How are you guys transforming people's mindsets in this regard?
Well, what we did as a non-profit organisation, being a small organisation, we often have funding and then we don't have funding. So it's these cycles of a lot and then very little. So we decided we would create a self-funding initiative, which is the Shark Warrior Adventures. And with this, it's responsible tourism. And we basically take people into the ocean to experience these transformational ocean adventure experiences and wildlife experiences, and an opportunity to reconnect with nature and see things and experience things in a way that we do on a daily basis, but that others don't. So it allows people to experience that for perhaps the first time in some cases.
And I'm glad you used the word transformative, because that's exactly what happened to me. And we're going to get into a bit more of what you do and some of the most amazing experiences you've had, which happen on a daily basis by the sound of things. So Leslie is with us for another 2 discussions this morning. We'd love to hear your eco or wildlife related questions this morning. And also send us pics, send us videos. Have you encountered an animal in the big, beautiful blue ocean? The number to call is 083 91 3372. Or just drop us a comment on Facebook or Twitter.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Now, from our homes, let's head back into the wild and the oceans, to be specific. We've got shark warrior Leslie Rochard in studio this morning talking about her conservation efforts, but we're also engaging with you guys, wanting to hear about your encounters or potential encounters with these beautiful creatures. And Jonathan, thank you so much for posing your question this morning. And it's an awesome question to set the tone for this entire discussion. How does one get over a fear of sharks?
Now, fear on its own is something we could spend a whole morning talking about. But the fear of anything needs to be approached the same way as one's fear of sharks. a little bit of background. I was so afraid of sharks once upon a time that my dive buddies nicknamed me Shark Bait. So I've done a complete 360 from being this person who was petrified to get in the water, to someone who's dedicated my life to conserving and protecting these animals. So fear needs to be replaced with understanding. And when you have an understanding of something, you can replace that fear, which is often the boogeyman under the bed.
It's the unknown.
It's the unknown. And we create things in our minds. It's not real fear. It's not a real threat to our lives necessarily. And in many cases with sharks, it's not that, though we perceive it to be that because we watch too much media. And the fear of sharks is actually known as salacophobia. It actually has a word. So people have this great fear of something that they do not understand. And when you understand something, and that's what I did, I put myself in the ocean with these animals, and through being with them, I learnt and understood that they were not interested in me, that I wasn't on their menu.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes.
You're not a sardine.
You're not a sardine. You're not on their menu. And sometimes they do mistake you for their food source. Sometimes they're inquisitive. They don't have hands. They can't say, hello, who are you? What are you? So unfortunately, yes, when they investigate, when they're curious, they might bite you and you may get harmed seriously. But in most cases, no, sharks are not there to hunt us and kill us.
And we understand these risks when we deal with other wild animals like lions, yet for some reason we blanket sharks, all sharks, with the same label. And to be honest, case in point, I felt more terrified of jumping into black water where I couldn't see a thing, where I had no idea if there was a shark there, to actually having to push blacktip sharks out the way to get into the water at Aliwal Shoal. It really was a miraculous experience. All of 5 seconds, as I said, to turn that fear around. And that's what you guys at AfriOcean are doing. You're offering people this chance to, yes, be educated, but also to have that wonder, to inspire, hopefully, a new generation of conservationists.
Absolutely. And at Shark Warrior Adventures, we have an adventure centre now at the AfriOcean's premises at Seaforth, below the Seaforth restaurant outside Simonstown. And from there, we take people into the ocean through our above or below ocean adventures, whether it's sea kayaking, stand-up paddling, or snorkeling safaris, and introduce the people to the wonders of the ocean. And when people go out, sometimes conditions aren't great, sometimes they're fantastic, but regardless, when people have had that experience, they all come out there with a big smile on their face. And we also take them to see gully sharks. They're gully sharks right in front of our office. And the amazement that people have when they actually have seen a shark, like, wow, I saw a shark. It's not that fear and loathing. It's appreciation, understanding, admiration that comes with those experiences. So that's what we aim to do, is to help reconnect people to nature. I believe that our greatest mistake on this planet, and why we're in such environmental crisis, is because we've disconnected ourselves from nature, and we've assumed we're superior to nature, and forgetting that when we harm other life, we're harming ourselves, because everything is connected.
I can't wait. I'm going to ask you about a couple of your encounters. What really stands out for you in all of these wonderful journeys that you've been on? But again, we'd love to hear from you guys. 0839133728. Have you had a shark encounter or any wild encounter in the ocean that you'd like to share with us? Send us a pic, send us a video, or phone in right now.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You are live with Expresso for a very feel-good exploration into the big blue. It's into the wild, and we have the shark warrior herself, Leslie Rashah, in studio, who is doing amazing things in terms of ecotourism, yes, but more importantly, in conservation. And what I love is that you're looking at absolutely every avenue to, I think, instill a respect and love of nature. And there are so many communities that are disenfranchised that will never get to connect with the wonders of nature. And you guys are trying to find innovative ways of addressing that. And I love the sound of the Swim Like a Shark project. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, that exciting project actually began with another environmental education program that we ran called the AfriOcean Warriors program, where we reached 30,000 children over 3 years.
Wow.
And while we were teaching all these children about the environmental issues of the oceans, etc., we recognized that in order to really change people and to make them appreciate the environmental issues that exist, you need to also look at skills development, and you also need to look at assisting them in areas that they are afraid. For example, most of the kids along our coastline cannot swim, and they're afraid of the ocean, and they're afraid of sharks. Worse than that, a lot of children die every year from drowning along our coast because they cannot swim. So we decided that what we needed to do was actually develop skills, swimming skills, save lives through our Swim Like a Shark program by teaching them basic swimming skills, and then also nurture the next generation of ocean guardians through educating them about the environmental issues. So now it's a twofold approach to environmental education. So we work with underprivileged children from local communities in our area, and it's been going since 2009, and the project keeps growing.
And long may it rain. Now, I have to ask you, it's a bit of a self-indulgent question because I know you've experienced so many amazing things everywhere that you've been throughout the globe. I'm sure something stands out from every journey. But if there was one experience that someone could embrace in the ocean, what would that be, do you think?
Well, through Shark Warrior Adventures, I lead dive expeditions to various places like diving with dolphins in Mozambique or, for example, the Sardine Run. Now, that is one of the most extraordinary experiences I've ever had underwater. I've been into many places. I've had the privilege of diving all over the world. Back at home along our coastline, nothing beats the experience I've had in the Sardine Run. You are basically putting yourself into a feeding frenzy where you have various predators, and many of them, dolphins, sharks, whales, gannets. And the experience of being in that environment and watching the animals cooperate and work together to herd the sardines and feast on the sardines is an experience I've never had in any other underwater place that I've traveled to. And I'm very delighted to say I'll be going back there in July to lead another group. So yes, I think the Sardine Run and the experience of being an observer in a place that you wouldn't expect to be, and watching this show, the greatest show and shoal on earth, basically.
You lucky fish. You lucky, lucky fish. It's like being able to actually be a part of the great migration in the Okavango or something like that. You've instilled a little wonder in me as well. I want to take my own shark journey a step further as well. But thank you so much for all that you do every day to conserve this incredible species in the ocean, and all of your efforts we will be there to support. So thank you so much, Leslie, and enjoy it. Send us lots of pics of the Sardine Run, and hopefully that has inspired in you a little more wonder in this beautiful blue planet of ours.